I'm Kurt Marisa from the Intelligence Community LLC, and today we have with us Richard Pera, the Dean of the School of Security and Global Studies of American Military University and the American Public University. So, Dean Pera, could you tell us a little bit about the AMU and APU system?
Sure. So the American Public University system has two universities, American Military University and American Public University. I'm the Dean of the School of Security and Global Studies for both.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the intelligence community?
So I started out after college and graduate school. I thought I wanted to go into the intelligence field because I seemed to have a knack for analysis and writing, and that was a good thing. So I ended up in the Navy, and I thought I wanted to be where the action is. And not before long, I was floating off the coast of Iran about the time when the U.S. hostages were released there and the Iraq-Iran war began. From there, I went back to Washington, where I was an intelligence briefer for the Chief of Naval Operations and the Secretary of the Navy. Moved from there to a front office position in the Pentagon. After that, I went to the U.S. Sixth Fleet in Italy. Now, this was an interesting time in the late 1980s. It was about the time when we were heavily involved in paying attention to Libya and Lebanon. So I became involved in a lot of contingency operations regarding those two countries. Following that, went back to Suitland, Maryland, which is the mothership for naval intelligence at the Office of Naval Intelligence, and became involved in human intelligence work for the Navy. Not long after that, I started attaché training, subordinate to DIA, and then moved on to be the assistant naval attaché in Paris, a wonderful assignment, not just for me, but for my family. And not long after that, went back to sea as the Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence on Carrier Group 4, which is one of our carrier groups. It's a flag staff embarking on our carrier strike groups in the Atlantic. Made Navy captain shortly after that, or at the end of that tour, reported back to the Office of Naval Intelligence, heading our efforts for all the bilateral and multilateral relations that we have. From there, I went back to the fleet right after 9/11. So that was a very different assignment back to the Sixth Fleet in the Mediterranean and in Europe. After that, but during that tour, I was heavily involved directing intelligence operations for counterterrorism operations in the Sahara. This was heavily special operations dependent. We were flying a lot of sorties, and we were looking for al-Qaeda fighters, particularly in Mali and southern Algeria, and I did that for about 8 months. It's kind of a strange job for a naval intelligence officer, but of course we're very joint. Not long after that, I was reassigned to the Pentagon in a director ISR role, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, where essentially I was responsible for helping to build the intelligence capabilities of the Navy for the future. My final tour on active duty was at the Defense Intelligence Agency, where I was involved not just in the Navy and Marine Corps budget, but it was the entire military budget, involving DIA, involving all 5 services, as well as the intelligence components of the combatant commands. Then I moved along, and now I find myself in this role, and it's great to be here.
How did your experience as a naval attaché and international affairs specialist, which we also call foreign area officer, how did that shape your career and background and world outlook in terms of being an international affairs specialist, a national security specialist, and an intelligence specialist?
Well, I started out with a real passion for international affairs academically and so forth, and this is a real passion I had. So that's pretty much why I chose the intelligence path, because it's all about international affairs, mostly about the part you don't know and you'd like to find out, though, of course. So the opportunity for me to go to France as a naval attaché was pretty much a dream come true. And for my family as well. As you well know, being an attaché is a family job. Your spouse is, in fact, interviewed and given a security clearance. For me, the dream come true was the opportunity to represent my country in a foreign country In a sense, it was a very cool thing. When I talked, it wasn't just Dick Pera talking, it was the United States of America talking. And something I never got at home, people actually listened to me when I actually had something to say. It was a wonderful tour, and in that tour, I had the opportunity to do a lot of visits for seniors who came from Washington, whether that was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, or on 2 occasions, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Always very interesting. He doesn't travel light.
That is fascinating. As you know, Dean Pera, I am the president of the Foreign Area Officer Association and had 3 attaché tours myself, so I can really understand and had the same experiences that you did out there at those my assignments as well.
Kurt, I got to tell you, you hit the trifecta with 3 attaché tours. I know people who have had 2, but I don't think I ever met anybody who was fortunate to have had 3.
Can you please tell us about the AMU intelligence courses and degree programs?
So we offer master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, a graduate certificate in intelligence. We offer a wide variety of courses in this field, and really we are focused in a couple ways. Not surprising to the intelligence professionals who would be watching us today, we offer a wide variety of courses in the INTs, the INTs, those being human intelligence, signals intelligence, geospatial intelligence, measurement and systems, or MASINT intelligence. We offer courses in these really at the undergraduate and graduate level. A little about the graduate degree just in a moment. We also offer courses focusing on the intelligence cycle. And as many people know from watching this today, the intelligence cycle isn't all about just the intelligence you hear or read about on television. It starts out with a requirement. Our nation wants to know something. And we make sure that our students know about this cycle, which is repetitive. It never ends. Because once you actually figure something out, it means there will be follow-on questions. You start the cycle again. So we make sure our students know about the requirements and the planning that goes into it, the collection aspect. These are the people, particularly in technical or human means, that go out and collect the intelligence, or it could be certainly from national means. Our intelligence analysis. These are the people that take information and turn it into something valuable called intelligence. We emphasize that in our programs and in our courses. Completing the cycle into production of intelligence, making sure that a wide variety of customers gets to know what we have discovered and what we have added, to which we've added value. And of course, the dissemination phase that really gets things out there. Then you start the system all over again. Another aspect of our courses I think that's very important is that we emphasize at the undergraduate, but particularly at the graduate level, many of the ambiguities involved in intelligence work. Intelligence work is the hard part. We know what our own force structure, what our own nation's capabilities are. That's a given. Perhaps many of those are classified for certain, but the people who are making decisions know what they are. The problem, of course, is that we don't know that with the enemy. We don't know the intentions of the enemy. We don't know perhaps what the enemy's actions will be or potential actions. That's up to intelligence professionals, and we're helping to train through our courses and our programs intelligence analysts, collectors, and so forth of tomorrow, many of whom actually work right now in the intelligence community. But we're helping to make them better through our courses.
How has APU and AMU responded to the growing demand for intelligence education and training courses and thinking outside the box in terms of how intelligence education and training is done in the last 10 years?
We struggle with this every day to remain relevant. How do we do that in the context of intelligence? Well, a couple different ways. We're constantly networking through the community, through a series of associations to which we belong in terms of corporately. Many of our faculty belong to other associations. We're constantly networking with our contacts with different associations. like the intelligencecommunity.com, for example. We're talking to people, I'm talking to people personally about the right kinds of course offerings. Another thing that we do that is particularly useful, we have something called Industry Advisory Councils, or IACs. So once a year, being able to reach out even more frequently than a once-a-year kind of plenary session. But once a year, we hold these IACs with experts in the field. In the case of intelligence, we have a series of, can't remember the exact number, perhaps 5 or 10 really substantial experts. These are experts in the private sector, in government, perhaps retired people who had positions in government. And we go over our curriculum to make sure that we have the right kinds of course offerings, always with an eye toward the workforce, to what the government needs, to what the private sector needs. Why? Because we're student-focused. We're all about our students. We're all about making sure that our students are well-trained to be able to land that job or advance in the career that they already have and the job that they already have. So these things taken together, it's a really critical issue for us, and it's something we're doing all the time.
Many academics and educators, as well as intelligence professionals, still maintain that intelligence studies and that the study of the intelligence career field should not be taught at the academic degree level, especially by civilian schools. How would you respond to that?
We find that our model works very well. Intelligence in particular, Homeland Security might be another example, but intelligence in particular is not a traditional field like psychology or perhaps even political science. So the way we're able to be so successful with the incredible growth that we've had over the last few years is really because of our faculty. We have practitioner scholars. Many of our faculty, of course, have terminal degrees, doctorates, law degrees even. Many of them have advanced degrees. All of them actually have advanced degrees in a related field. But they also are practitioners, and that separates us really from many other universities in the field, including many of the larger, more traditional ones and brick and mortar ones. So our practitioners really enable us to do the work that we've done. Examples of scholar practitioners. In the field of Homeland Security, just yesterday I had a terrific phone call with one of our great practitioners in Homeland Security who was now retired, recently retired, was the former deputy chief of the Atlanta police force. So you're asking, well, how can that, what's relevant about that? This was the man who was responsible for security during the Olympic Games in 1990, I think it's 96, if I have the year correct, and who has consulted in virtually every Olympics ever since about terrorist threats, about how to handle them. Another one of our faculty members, for example, in the field of geospatial intelligence, GeoInt, plays a prominent role, I'm not going to mention any names in particular, plays a prominent role in the National Geospatial Intelligence Foundation. This is an organization that kind of parallels and supports the NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, for which he worked at one time. We have other seniors. For example, one of the seniors who has taught courses in the intelligence domain in the cyber area is a former senior executive at the National Security Agency and very familiar with those kinds of courses. So these scholar practitioners really enable us to teach our students in very, very meaningful ways. Why? Because they don't only talk the talk, they walk the walk, and they have walked the walk, which separates them.
Are unclassified online courses now an accepted method of obtaining undergraduate and advanced degrees in intelligence?
Everything we teach is obviously at the unclassified level. We have many instructors, professors who do have clearances. And as everybody knows who's ever had a clearances, you have to have two parts of your brain. You have the part that has the classified stuff and then the other part. So these people have to compartmentalize. And we reiterate that, of course, and they're professionals and they know how to do that. We, in these ways, everything that we do is open source. We emphasize a lot of open source material, and we're a democracy. There's a lot of information out there. So we don't get down into the very nitty-gritty about, for example, what are the key performance parameters of the nation's latest infrared satellite collection system. We're not going to talk about that. That's classified. We're not going to do that. But what we will talk about is the value of those systems, what they bring to the world of policymakers, of senior intelligence professionals, and how that enables us to put a picture together, to use GeoInt, to use imagery, to use radar or infrared or electro-optical, whatever the system is, how that helps us to put together a picture of something we don't know that our nation needs to know. So we do that in an unclassified way. One final example I'll leave with you on this question is our library. So our virtual voluminous library contains all kinds of information and links to things. We have links to the Open Source Center, for example, and as you know, that was formerly called the Foreign Broadcast Information Service. That's, in my career, is what I knew it as FBIS. So you frequently read that, translation of articles and so forth, and that information lives on, used to be subordinate to CIA scientific and technical domain, their bureau. Now it's elsewhere, but you can subscribe to it, and we do. And that kind of open source information continues to be available and is obviously a wealth of information, particularly if you don't speak Urdu or Arabic. Our people have access to that. It's entirely unclassified.
How do you view, or how would you describe your target audience or your target population for your undergraduate and your graduate degree courses?
The average age is in their late 20s. They're people who are a little older, and as a result, I would say they're much more dedicated. These people want to get ahead. And I would say the two things that this population has in common, particularly the ones who are involved in the intelligence curriculum, many of whom are in the military now, some are in the intelligence community and military intelligence, some in the civilian sector. But they have two things in common, it seems to me, having been able to observe this for a couple months in my job. They have a real passion for the world around them. They want to understand it. They want to affect it. And the second thing is something I mentioned before a little. They want to improve their lives. They have a real passion not only for the world around them, but they have the willingness, they have the will to do something about it, to get ahead, to live that American dream in a sense. And I say that not tongue-in-cheek. I really mean it. These are people who have the will to do something to better their lives, to get ahead in their careers, and to make a difference. And this is really, really hard to do when you've got a full-time job, you're dead tired, maybe you're in a combat zone. We have a great picture of one of our military members writing a term paper in a combat zone on his iPhone. That's the kind of student we have. Our students are heroes. They really are. And it is a great honor to be a part of this.
Can you run down the type of things that your intelligence graduates can expect to do after graduation? What type of jobs do they have available to them?
Sure. Well, many would be involved in the government, and there's a large cadre of people who are in the military, on the military side of intelligence. So some will seek to move up in their career field. In the agency, whether they're working right now, whether that's Army INSCOM or whether it's DIA or some other organization, or perhaps in the field. Absolutely. So they would seek to remain in the service and move up inside. Others perhaps would know that they might be getting out in a year or two and want to be marketable, and indeed they are marketable with their experience, with a clearance and so forth, but maybe they don't have a bachelor's degree. Many of our enlisted people do not, and they know that could be a showstopper. Maybe they want to go on and get an advanced degree to become even more marketable after the military. So we have a lot of people who are seeking to do that. We also have civilian students who, for many of the same reasons, want to go on and do that. In the private sector, many may go and work in the private sector for government contractors and so forth. So we have a wide range of opportunities out there, and our students are pretty successful.
What are your most popular courses, intelligence courses, that you offer?
You know, I think the two most popular ones are probably not the ones you would expect. They're research and methods courses, because to move up, for example, in the graduate field, you have to know research and methods in intelligence. So that's not a particular subject. So let me just say that there are other ones, and my gut feeling on this is that the reason they're popular with so many people is we live in the post 9/11 world. There's so much going on television. You hear about these kinds of things. They're what people know. They're what people hear about. And they want to learn about them. That would be terrorism, counterterrorism, covert action, maybe interagency operations, maybe counterintelligence. Maybe the NCIS episodes or other spy movies or so forth. People are very interested in this, and they know that there are jobs in the intelligence community. Real people do this kind of work, and we offer real courses for real people.
Dean Pera, last question. What's on the horizon for the university, and how is the university adapting to the changing marketplace, to the changing geopolitical shifts around the world, and to the government and corporate financial constraints?
You know, this gets back to the issue of relevance and how do we remain relevant? Well, to remain relevant, we have to change. So we are in a constant state of innovation at the university. We are looking at ways every day to reinvent ourselves. My boss likes to say that our approach is evolutionary, but the result is revolutionary. And in many ways, I think we've revolutionized online learning, particularly in these flagship programs I've been talking about. And the revolution's not over. We're going to figure out new ways. Just to throw out a couple things, we need to keep up with what our nation is doing. An example would be President Obama and the Obama administration's strategic pivot from the Middle East to the Pacific, Asia Pacific. And we need to make sure that we're paying attention to that in our course offerings. I mean, this kind of thing is very important. It's very important that we reflect that. The area of cyber, not a lot of things growing in the military or in the intelligence community. Cyber's one of them. What does that mean? It means jobs, absolutely. It means that we need to ensure that our graduates are up to the pace with the job market and so forth, that they are prepared. So we're looking at adding more courses in cyber. And not just in cybersecurity, which is critically important and is much more technical or IT focused, but on the other side of cyber, where there are many jobs, whether it's the intelligence related to cyber. And let me pause and say that there was a white paper recently from the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, one of the nation's premier intelligence-related agencies, or associations, I should say, and to which one of our own board members, General Barbara Fast, was a co-author. At any rate, some of these things have related how important cyber is and cyber education, and we're going there. We're going there in places, for example, I hope to go there in things like counterintelligence and the insider threat. The insider threat in the private sector and the government sector. And we have a role to play, particularly in intelligence education, to make sure that our students know the foreign threats, know what's out there, and can assist the technical people when the time comes to defend and to do something about it on the other side.
Dean Pera, I want to thank you for being here with us today. I really appreciate your candor, your description of the program. Sounds like you have a fantastic program here at American Military University and American Public University. Our members will be very interested in your offerings, in your programs, and in your courses. So thank you for being here. I'm Kurt Marisa from the Intelligence Community, LLC, and we've had with us Richard Pera, the Dean of the School of Security and Global Studies of American Military University and American Public University.